Have you seen X? It's a 2022 horror thriller about a group of filmmakers trying to make an adult movie, but find themselves fighting for their lives after their elderly guests find out. The film begins with the police arriving at the scene of a murder at a rural farmhouse. We see a covered bloody corpse in the front of the house. There is a bloody trail leading up to the porch, where there is an axe in the floor. We hear a preacher speaking on the TV about perverts stealing their daughters. A deputy leads the sheriff down into the basement to show him something. We then rewind back 24 hours earlier, where we see a young lady, Maxine, snorting some cocaine with a $20 bill in front of a mirror. An older man, Wayne, enters the room asking her to take it easy on that stuff, kisses her, and tells her she's special. Outside we see they are in Houston, Texas. A lady dressed in red, Bobby Lynn, exits what looks like a strip club, followed by Maxine and Wayne. They enter a van that reads, "Plowing service on the side," and drive off. It is 1979. Inside the van, a script is handed out, and we see there are 3 other people, Jackson, RJ, and Lorraine. They are all excited about their project, The Farmer's Daughters. Bobby Lynn starts talking about her dream of getting a house with a pool to tan her titties. She then asks Maxine what her dream is. She doesn't answer. The group arrive at a gas station, and Wayne says if they make half of what Debbie does, Dallas made, he would be out of the red, but they need to be patient. Maxine says she wants to be famous. She's ready for the high life. Wayne replies that the whole world will know her name because she got the X Factor. Outside at the pumps, RJ explains to Bobby Lynn that he wants to experiment and give his film a sense of the avant-garde, making it classier like the French. He proceeds to film Jackson filling up the car. Inside the gas station, they see the preacher on TV. Back on the road, they drive past an accident where a cow has been hit and its blood and guts are all over the road. We see the sheriff at the scene. They arrive at a farm, and Wayne asks the others to stay in the car as he heads up to the house. Meanwhile, in the car, Bobby Lynn and Jackson are making out while Lorraine complains that this wasn't the kind of film she had in mind when she agreed to help. RJ calls her a prude. The owner, Howard, greets Wayne with a shotgun. Wayne reminds him that they spoke on Tuesday about a place to stay, and he puts his shotgun down. The others exit the vehicle to head to the guest house. Maxine sees an old lady watching her as she gets out. After they reach the guest house, Howard asks Wayne if he's served. Wayne replies no because of his flat feet. Jackson tells him he did 2 tours in South Vietnam. Hoorah! Howard turns and stares at Maxine. Wayne tells him that's his fiancée he's eyeballing, and asks if he hasn't seen something that nice in a while. Howard complains that Wayne didn't mention he would bring others, so Wayne sweetens the deal by giving him some extra cash. Howard comments that he doesn't think he likes Wayne. In fact, he doesn't like the looks of any of them, for that matter. He says his wife is next door, so he would appreciate some discretion, and leaves. Lorraine asks if the old couple knows what they are going to be doing. Wayne is surprised and says that the little mouse does speak. He then replies that no, they don't know. He'd rather ask forgiveness than beg. He then announces that he thinks it's about time to give people what they want to see. Bobby Lynn agrees. Bobby Lynn and Jackson proceed to have sex while RJ films and Lorraine holds up a mic. Maxine decides to go for a walk and wanders to a nearby river. She goes to the edge of the small pier and dips her toes in. The old lady has followed her and watches her as she strips and jumps in. Back at the house, Wayne is excited about how great the scene was. RJ explains that he's treating it as cinema, not pornography. Wayne tells him to keep doing what he's doing, that they are going to be rich, and asks him to feel how hard he is. Inside the room, Jackson is very proud of himself. Bobby Lynn laughs at him and tells him that it's called acting. He doesn't believe her, so she puts on a performance. Maxine is still peacefully floating around in the pond. Nearby, there is an alligator. She decides to swim back to the pier, and the alligator follows. She stops right at the edge of the pier to catch her breath. The creature is just about on her, but at the last moment, she climbs up. We then see a clip from The Farmer's Daughters where Jackson is in character, telling Bobby Lynn that his car broke down. She invites him inside. On her way back, Maxine sees the Pearl from a distance, makes some sort of gesture. She waves back, but then decides to follow her to the house. She cautiously walks into the kitchen. There are dirty dishes everywhere. Pearl surprises her by offering her lemonade. We cut back and forth to The Farmer's Daughters, and the kitchen where Jackson has a sip of lemonade, and Maxine finishes hers. Afterwards, Pearl shows Maxine her old photos where Howard was in the war, and she was a beautiful dancer. She slowly approaches Maxine, saying she is beautiful, and touches her side. Maxine pulls away, asking her what she is doing. In the background, we see Howard return home in his truck. She asks Maxine to leave, and that it is their secret. Maxine sneaks around the house and runs back to the guest house. She runs into Wayne, who tells her to hurry up as they are losing the light for filming. Maxine snorts some cocaine to prepare for her scene. She gives Wayne a deep kiss and heads into a barn. Jackson, again in character, approaches her asking for her father. She tells him that she must have met her sister, who is jealous of her because she is younger and gets all the attention. Pearl watches from a barn window, imagining herself in her position. That evening, Pearl is super horny and tries to get it on with Howard. He reminds her that his heart can't take all that action. That night, the actors praise Maxine for her performance, saying now they know why Wayne left his wife for her. Lorraine stares at Maxine and asks Wayne, isn't it weird to watch another man do it with her? Wayne replies, as long as the cameras are on, it's different. Maxine tells her not to let outdated traditions hold her back. It's just sex. Bobby Lynn adds that everyone loves sex and that one day you'll be too old to do it. Wayne agrees, exclaiming that this new home video market is going to explode. Porn will be available for people in the privacy of their own homes. And it won't just be for the perverts no more. They make a toast. Jackson plays a song and we see Pearl looking at her old body. Suddenly, Lorraine decides she wants to do a scene. RJ is not happy about it and tries to argue against it. Lorraine calls him a prude. RJ heads outside in a huff. Wayne follows him and gives him some advice, saying if Lorraine is serious, there is nothing he can do to stop her. Back inside, Lorraine gets ready for the scene, and RJ reluctantly prepares to shoot. Later that night, while everyone's asleep, RJ cries in the shower. He then decides that he can't take it and starts to drive off in a truck. But Pearl is blocking the road. He exits the vehicle and checks on her. Having been blue-balled earlier, she starts to hug him and tries to kiss him. RJ pulls back all confused. She asks him to look at her and starts to undress. He suggests that they go find her husband. Not able to take being blue-balled again, Pearl stabs him in the neck. RJ falls to the floor and chokes on his own blood. She stabs him a few more times and then dances around a bit before taking the keys from the truck. Lorraine wakes up, and when she finds that RJ is not next to her, she goes looking for him. Wayne comes out in his wide fronts and surprises her. Lorraine worries that RJ will break up with her, but Wayne reassures her that she hasn't done anything wrong and that the truck is still there. He then agrees to go look for him with her. Wayne heads to the barn. While Lorraine goes towards the house, Howard comes out onto the porch and Lorraine explains what she is doing. Howard asks her if she has seen Pearl. Wayne starts to go deeper into the barn and steps on a nail. He cries in pain and calls out for help from RJ. As he tries to get back up, he sees a shadow pass the back of the barn. Obviously, the smart thing to do is to get right up close and to have a peek. A rake is shoved straight into his eyes. Back in the house, Howard convinces Lorraine to help him go into the basement to grab a torch from his workbench. When she tries to head back up, the door is locked. She starts to panic. She heads back down into the basement, turns the light on to discover a naked body that has been hung up, and screams. Jackson is woken up by the noise. He goes to check it out, naked. While getting some milk, he notices Howard wandering around with his torch, and asks him what's up, and why all the firepower. Howard explains that he's looking for his wife, and the gun is for the alligators, as he found her once by the pond. Jackson offers to help and gets dressed. Meanwhile, Pearl wanders into the guest house and slips into bed with Maxine, naked, with RJ and Wayne's blood all over her. She strokes Maxine's smooth skin and smells her hair. Jackson and Howard search the lake, where there is a sunken VW Beetle. They are separated for a bit, and Jackson notices a torch in the swamp. He rushes over, calling out for Howard. Back in the basement, Lorraine continues to panic, but eventually finds an axe. Jackson makes his way out of the swamp and bumps into Howard. He explains to Jackson how he can't please Pearl anymore, and that the last bohemian was the saying, traipsing around with no clothes on, enticing his wife. Jackson is confused but suggests that they head back. Howard answers him with his gun. Maxine finally wakes up from her slumber, face to face with Pearl, and screams, waking up Bobby Lynn, who rushes over to her room, where a distressed Maxine is alone. She explains how Pearl was touching her in bed. Lorraine starts chopping at the door and manages to break through a panel. She tries to reach through and open the door. Howard smashes her fingers with his rifle and tells her to stay put. Maxine snorts some more coke after that experience, while Bobby Lynn wanders out to look for everyone. She finds Pearl naked, standing on the pier, and covers her up. She tries to get her to come with her, but Pearl bitch slaps her, complains about why she gets to have it all, and calls her a whore. Bobby Lynn says it isn't her fault she didn't live her life, and tells her to move out of the way. Pearl shoves her into the pond, and the alligator chomps onto her head. Back at the guest house, Maxine starts calling out to her friends, but then sees the old couple approaching and hides. They discuss how many they have gotten rid of, and Howard lets her know that he's kept one of her in the house. But Pearl says she doesn't want her, she wants Maxine, that she has something special like she did. Howard says he wants to give her that D, but he is tired. She puts his hand on her perky boobies and tells him to make him feel young again. Howard is worried his heart can't take it, but they get it on, all while Maxine is under the bed. As things get spicier and spicier, Maxine sneaks out and rushes to the truck. She hears Lorraine call for help and quickly grabs Wayne's gun from the glove box. She heads inside and lets Lorraine out. Maxine tries to tell her that they need to find the keys to the truck, but Lorraine, in a state of distress, rushes out the front door and gets gunned down. Maxine quickly hides around the corner. Howard starts to drag Lorraine's body, but she isn't quite dead. This shocks Howard. He has a heart attack. Maxine takes an opportunity and points Wayne's pistol at Pearl, asking for the keys. She gets them and goes back to pointing the gun at Pearl, saying she will rot for what she's done. Pearl stands up, calls her a deviant whore because she saw what she did in the barn, and that they're the same. She says that she is not the same. She is a star, and the whole world will know her name. In the living room, the TV's blaring out the preacher's words, and Maxine with the TV simultaneously shouts, "I will not accept the life I do not deserve." She then tries to pull the trigger on the gun, but it doesn't fire. Pearl swiftly grabs the shotgun and fires her, but Maxine ducks, and the recoil launches Pearl out of the house. Pearl cries out about her hip and asks her for help, but Maxine tells her to shush. She gets into the truck while Pearl calls her a whore. Maxine casually reverses over Pearl's head. She then drives off into the sunrise. We cut back to the preacher on the TV, and it is revealed that Maxine is his daughter. It is already the next day, and the police have discovered the mess on the farm. They are confused about what happened. One of the officers then brings the sheriff RJ's camera, asking what he thinks is inside. The sheriff replies, "By the looks of things, one fucked up horror picture." Now you've seen it, please like and subscribe. And remember kids, if your girlfriend wants to do a porno, you should probably dump her.